Housing costs are up. Education costs are up. The debt each of us holds is up. Wages are up too, but only a fraction compared to those other things. These 4 facts are crushing millennials and Gen Zers. Most young people can't keep pace with the cost of higher education and the cost of housing. Once you become burdened with debt, you don't have a chance to build a savings for a down payment on a house. So you're stuck renting. That isn't doing you any favors because rent prices continue to rise. You get no equity in return. It feels like everything is working against under 40s in the United States right now. Maybe you're one of the lucky ones. Maybe right out of college you landed a job that allowed you to pay off your debts quickly so you can build a savings and afford a house and afford to invest. Or maybe you earned your college tuition by serving in the military. Or maybe you're lucky because you didn't go to college and whatever job or field you landed in has been enough to keep you out of debt and has allowed you to start maturing different pieces of equity. If you're one of those groups, congratulations. You are lucky and you have succeeded against the statistical odds. For the rest of millennials and Gen Zers who aren't that lucky, what needs to be done in our system to turn this around? What needs to be done in the system today so that those currently under 40 have the same opportunities that their parents and grandparents had? The opportunity to build wealth or to have a single income with multiple kids and a car and a house with a picket fence and a freshly cut lawn. That image feels like a fairy tale, something out of the Matrix at this point. The idea of living comfortably on a single income and supporting a whole family. Does canceling student debt get us somewhere? Does a $15 minimum wage solve these problems? Not entirely, not to me. The only thing that will solve this is a dramatic increase in wages. Check out this chart showing global income growth. What you see is that the people at the very highest income level, the 1%ers of the world, their income is growing dramatically. The same is true, but to a lesser extent, for the majority of people living in emerging markets and developing nations. Their wages are also growing quickly. Now, check out the middle of this graph, where it's flat and not rising, the 60th to 95th percentile of wealth on the planet. That's us in the United States. We're the main region without wage growth, even as costs of housing and education and living rise all around us. It seems like we're the only ones on the planet without sustained income and wage growth. But also, I like to think in terms of a timeline. As you extend out a timeline, how does the situation change? How does it get better or worse? Very often, human nature has a tendency to be short-sighted. But in this scenario about the bleak outlook for millennials and Gen Zers, I think looking out just 5 years is short-sighted, maybe even 10 years is too short-sighted. Companies that are thinking in terms of just 5 or 10 years from now are probably not laying the foundation to survive as the timeline extends. And here's why I say that. If the young people of today continue to be saddled with debt and as a whole are unable to own real estate at the same rate that their parents own real estate because they aren't seeing any real wage growth, then those young people are not building equity in anything. It's hard to invest when you fork over $2,000 a month in student loan payments. But so much of the profit that our favorite companies, our favorite stores, our favorite hotels get, so much of those profits are based on wage growth and accumulated wealth from 30 years ago, the baby boomers. Because in 2021, so much of the American consumer is still made up of people who made their money 2, 3, and 4 decades ago. When the millennials and Gen Zers of today become 50 and 60 years old and they don't own a home, or they only purchased one after age 50 because they couldn't save for a down payment any sooner, those people are going to find themselves in a much less financially stable situation than their parents. They will have less to spend than their boomer parents. If you want to look at this selfishly, ask yourself, when our friends have less to spend, who and what gets hurt? Your portfolio gets hurt. The stocks you love get hurt. Your retirement account. Your parents' retirement account. The housing market. And yes, again, your friends. Who are you going to spend all of your crypto profits with if your friends didn't have the money to buy in early? Things stay bleak as the timeline extends further out. Do you think people born in the year 2020 are going to be even worse situation than those born between 1980 and 2000? Yes, they are. Even more so, the babies of today will be struggling 40-year-olds. Because unlike the economy of 2021, currently propped up by four groups, we've got Gen Zs, Millennials, Gen X, and baby boomers, these 2020 babies will be faced with struggling Millennials and Gen Zers as their economic elders without extra capital to spend, without savings, and in some cases, still renting. If Gen Z and the Millennials can't contribute to the economy at the same rate as today's boomers, what hope is there for the children of today? I'm about to show you how much of a millennial I am by inserting one of my favorite lines from Die Hard. If you aren't part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So what are the solutions to this concerning timeline for millennials, Gen Zers, and the economy at large? The real common denominator for everyone across the board is wage growth. This is not keeping up with the cost of living. I don't mean cost of living in terms of the words you hear on TV from some economist that triggers your brain to panic about saving money. Not the term cost of living. I mean the very literal, what does it cost to live? Think about what kind of costs Americans aged 20 to 40 face. Insurance, phone, internet, car payments, utilities, and yes, student debt, and yes, housing costs. Add all of those things together and you end up with the literal cost to live. I'll take that a step further, and I will say that we as humans also want pleasures. We want vacations, we want to work out at the gym, we want to have a beer at a pub, and many of us, millennials and Gen Zers, will actually go into debt just to make sure we can partake in these fun activities. Because we're going to go nuts if every day of our lives we work just to pay off those mandatory costs to live. Look, this is not a question about lazy millennials or if the salvo of criticism coming from boomers is valid or not. I think the bigger problem that we are on the verge of is that boomers are going to be replaced in our consumer economy by millennials and Gen Zers who are fiscally less prepared to be consumers right now, today. Companies don't want to pay higher wages. But in the long run, that will do more harm than good as those companies' balance sheets deteriorate as millennials and Gen Zers segue into their leading roles in the US consumer economy. So if you're rooting for the next stock market, if you are rooting for your portfolio and your retirement account, you should be rooting for higher wages, because even though things look rosy on the 5 and 10-year timelines, the 20-year timeline looks bleak. Revenue and earnings of your favorite companies will fall as ill-equipped millennials and Gen Zers take the reins of responsibility from boomers. None of this is about laziness. None of this is about what school you went to or didn't go to, what career path you chose. This is about the need for a collective rise in wages across the board to match the cost of living, the cost of higher education, and the cost of housing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.